Breaking news right now. We're just hearing that Bill Belichick has talked to the UNC chancellor. I know that was a big point of contention when it comes to could this potentially happen, is that alignment within the UNC program and making sure that everybody is on board. But I'm assuming that you might have talked to your friend Chip Patterson about this, who knows a thing or two happening in Chapel Hill. What can you add on this breaking news?
Yeah, I think Belichick is probably the leading guy there. I mean, it seems like he is really motivated to coach. When I first heard the news, I was like, I wonder if this is just kind of a signal to the NFL that, hey, I love coaching so much, I'm even willing to put up with all the nonsense that comes with coaching college football, but I really want back in the NFL. But no, it appears like he really does care about that. I know there have been some rumors or reports about maybe some involvement with his son, like some kind of coaching waiting. I don't know if that's actually legit or not, but I will tell you, we are absolutely on emergency podcast watch for Cover 3 if North Carolina hires Bill Belichick, because that headline will absolutely eat on YouTube, and we will be there to discuss it live. Hopefully they hold it for after Transfer Palooza. But I mean, if Bill Belichick has the energy to coach college, you can't really say no to Bill Belichick, right? If he thinks he still has it, you kind of got to trust him.
I think the quote here from the interview with Pat McAfee a little bit earlier today, he said, I'll just say this, I think there are a lot of football programs being structured similar to NFL programs. Mentioned high school recruiting and portal is now comparative to the draft and NFL free agency. I think that's it. I think that sentence right there. I mean, we talk about Bill Belichick maybe more equipped than some of the coaches out there right now in terms of understanding, all right, what does the revenue share look like? What is the model of some of these personnel offices look like as well? I think the other thing here that we're completely missing on is Bill Belichick in the NFL. I think there are a lot of owners. I think there are a lot of front offices that don't align with Bill Belichick, because you're talking about one of the greatest coaches of all time. If you hire him, you have to give him the authority and the autonomy to run the organization or the program the way that he wants to do that. Right now in the NFL, that's probably not going to happen. At North Carolina, they're going to say, here are the keys. Go run it the way that you want to run it. So the people that you want to bring in, we talked about cap analysts, we talked about scouts, structuring it that way. I don't think we're too far off from the college football calendar just being completely torn to shreds and this looking more and more like the NFL. So, as weird as it sounds for a 72, 73-year-old to be categorized as a progressive hire, I mean, you could really kind of put it in that bucket a little bit. So I find this one completely fascinating. And, man, what a case study it would be if North Carolina was able to pull this off.
But a progressive hire for a young 72-year-old. I get it, though. You convinced me.
Also, don't we think UNC is kind of a job that it has some untapped potential? At least I do. They have money. I know football will, I won't say always, but probably for the foreseeable future, be second fiddle to basketball. But it doesn't have to be second fiddle by a ton, right? Maybe it's kind of more 1B to a 1A. I don't think Belichick would take that job if he doesn't think that there's real potential there. And we know there are some other really good coaches who are also interested. There were some reports about Matt Campbell. Depending on how well he interviewed, if he did interview. So I think I think it's the best job on the market. I think it's a very smart time for UNC to be open, because we have I would say 4 or 5 SEC openings coming next year, depending on, like, somebody's going to lose ball games because you have to, right? They all play each other, and they're going to have fan bases that are really upset. I think we're going to have a lot of SEC openings next year. Very smart time for Carolina to be open, because they get their pick of the litter, really.
I mean, I think it's tough to compete with a guy who can walk into the meeting room with more rings than fit on one finger when it comes to winning Super Bowls. But when you go to compare Matt Campbell, as you mentioned, with a Bill Belichick, what's the thought process maybe that UNC is trying to figure out when they are prioritizing what they want in their next head coach?
I think a lot of it's fit. Campbell has done such a nice job there at Iowa State, but not an amazing recruiter, not great resources at Iowa State. And I think a lot of the places that have looked at Matt Campbell over the years, like, okay, does he fit what we want to do? Can he bring in the talent that we think we need to compete, to be at the top half of the ACC, to compete annually? Because we play a lot of season opening games against the SEC, and also recruit in many ways when we're doing well against the SEC. Belichick doesn't have a whole lot of recruiting chops, but he does have, as you mentioned, Emily, 6 Super Bowl rings. So that probably is going to sell pretty well in living rooms, assuming he can fill out a nice staff there. I think I would rather have Belichick at this point than Campbell, but clearly Campbell, because of the college success that he's had, and this is crazy to say for over a guy who had 6 Super Bowl rings, but maybe the floor is a bit higher because he has been in the college game. And we don't really know what the transition will be like as far as a 1-for-1 for Belichick. But it worked out pretty well for Harbaugh.
It did, and you can always go back, too. There's probably some more time for Bill Belichick if he wants to do a few years in college and then maybe go back to the NFL and win a few more Super Bowls. Man, that is it's crazy that this is something that we're talking about. But yeah, the breaking news is that Bill Belichick did speak with UNC officials, the chancellor specifically, about this head coach opening.